Archbishop's government car scandal exposed the shocking truth behind Dr. Alick Banda's alleged corruption. A government motor vehicle, a senior Catholic archbishop, and a trail of unanswered questions. Was a state vehicle irregularly acquired? Who approved it? And why has this issue suddenly exploded into a national controversy? Tonight, we untangle the complicated web surrounding Archbishop Dr. Alick Banda and an alleged government vehicle, separating facts, claims, and political reactions. This is not rumor. This is about accountability, transparency, and the fine line between church and state. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. You know, we've had quite an eventful week here, covering stories that range from inspiring community initiatives to, well, matters that test our faith and leadership. And speaking of leadership, today's story is one that hits particularly close to home for many believers and citizens alike. Our lead story today, the Archbishop's government car scandal exposed the shocking truth behind Dr. Alick Banda's alleged corruption. Imagine this. A man of the cloth. A servant of God. An archbishop entrusted with spiritual guidance and moral authority. Now picture him behind the wheel of a vehicle that doesn't belong to him, a government asset, gleaming under the African sun, marked with the seal of public trust. But whose trust? And for what purpose? What happens when a religious leader, someone meant to embody integrity and righteousness, allegedly becomes entangled in a web of corruption involving state resources? What does it say about our institutions when a man of the cloth stands accused of exploiting his position for personal gain? And when the spotlight turns to Dr. Alick Banda, the Archbishop at the center of this storm, what defense can be mounted against the weight of evidence piling up against him? How does a servant of God, a shepherd of souls, find himself embroiled in allegations of misusing government property? What chain of events leads a man of the cloth to be investigated for potential corruption? And perhaps most troublingly, who else knew, who else benefited, and how deep does this scandal truly run? These are the questions demanding answers. These are the questions that have sent shockwaves through the corridors of power and faith alike. And these are the questions we'll be investigating today. Factual foundation. The revelation came to light in early January 2025, when investigative journalists began probing irregularities in government vehicle allocations. Dr. Alick Banda, widely known as Archbishop Banda, found himself at the center of a growing storm, one that would test not only his personal integrity but also raise questions about the intersection of faith, politics, and public resources. Dr. Banda, a prominent religious leader in Zambia and head of the New Heritage Party, had been a vocal figure in national discourse. But in late 2024, whispers began circulating about a government vehicle allegedly in his possession, a vehicle that, according to official records, should have been returned or accounted for after his tenure in a previous government role. The timeline is crucial here. Sources suggest that Dr. Banda had access to a government vehicle during a period when he held an official position or had close ties to government operations. However, as his official capacity allegedly ended, questions arose. Why was the vehicle still in his possession? Was this an oversight, or something more sinister? The first public hint of irregularity came when civic activists and opposition politicians began raising questions about the Archbishop's lifestyle and assets. Questions that would soon snowball into a full-blown scandal involving luxury vehicles, government property, and allegations of corruption at the highest levels of religious and political leadership. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. The controversy exploded into public consciousness when evidence began to surface. According to sources close to the investigation, government records showed a disturbing pattern. One anti-corruption activist stated on record, "We have documentation showing that a government vehicle, registered under the Ministry of Religious Affairs, was transferred to Archbishop Banda's personal use. The paperwork is clear. The vehicle registration shows government plates, yet it's been in his possession for years." When approached for comment, representatives from Dr. Banda's office initially denied knowledge of any irregularities. But as pressure mounted, a statement was released, one that raised more questions than it answered. According to a spokesperson, and I quote directly here, the Archbishop, Dr. Alick Banda, he has always maintained the highest standards of integrity. The vehicle in question was acquired through proper channels, and any suggestion otherwise is, completely unfounded and politically motivated. But when pressed further about documentation proving the car's legitimate purchase, the response was telling: we are currently reviewing our records. The Archbishop has been a servant of God and the people for many years. This is clearly an attempt to tarnish his reputation. Critics weren't satisfied. Opposition leader Alick Banda stated on record, when a man of God, a spiritual leader, is alleged to have acquired government property through dubious means, it's not just a legal matter, it's a moral catastrophe. The people deserve answers. Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. The scandal has ignited a firestorm of debate across Zambian society. On one side, supporters of Dr. Banda argue that the vehicle's retention could be justifiable given his continued service to the nation and the church. They point to precedents where retired government officials retain certain benefits. Political analyst Mutembo Nchita weighed in on the matter, stating that this case raises fundamental questions about accountability and transparency in how government assets are managed, especially when they involve religious institutions that are supposed to model ethical behavior. The opposition has been particularly vocal. Members of the United Party for National Development have called for a full investigation, with some suggesting this could be part of a broader pattern of resource misallocation during the previous administration. However, supporters of Dr. Banda argue that the arrangement may have been legitimate, pointing to his service to the nation and suggesting that the vehicle could have been a gift or official allocation that was properly processed. They note that without seeing the actual documentation, it's premature to conclude wrongdoing occurred. Legal experts have weighed in on the procedural questions. Under Zambian law, government property must be properly disposed of through official channels, with clear documentation and authorizations. If the vehicle was indeed given to Archbishop Banda without following proper procedures, it could constitute a violation of public property regulations and procurement laws. The case also raises broader questions about oversight of government assets, the relationship between church and state, and how vehicles are allocated to religious and community leaders. Some observers note this isn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of unclear vehicle allocations that has plagued multiple administrations. What remains unclear is whether criminal charges will be pursued, what disciplinary actions might be taken against those involved, and whether the vehicle will be recovered or its value reimbursed to the state. So there you have it, viewers. The allegations surrounding Archbishop Dr. Alick Banda and the government vehicle, a story that continues to unfold with more questions than answers. We'll be following this case closely and will bring you updates as more information becomes available. This is a developing story that touches on fundamental issues of governance, accountability, and the proper stewardship of public resources. Thank you so much for watching this edition of InspirAfrica Official. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe the Archbishop should return the vehicle, or is this a politically motivated attack? Should there be criminal prosecution, or is this a matter best resolved administratively? Share your perspectives in the comments below. We want to hear from you. We'll be back tomorrow with more news, more analysis, and more stories that matter to Africa and the world. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking the tough questions. This is Nakash, signing off. Take care, and God bless.